For those of you who'd like access to this content, follow the link in the description box, visit our Patreon page, and subscribe to the Black Kluge tier. For a mere $5 a month, you get access to the alternate Sunday episodes you've been missing, only available on Patreon, as well as the weekly Tuesday episodes. But wait, there's more. If you subscribe to the Black Kluge tier, you'll also get 2 weeks advance notice to our Thursday sessions. And if you needed any more incentive, when we have bonus episodes, Patreon is the place where you're going to find them. Also, don't forget to check out Teepublic for our great swag. The link is also in the aforementioned description.
Tell you the truth, man. Here's some guy. That's the problem with radio. Some guy who's managing an automotive parts store is telling you how to do your radio show. Meanwhile, I'm a genius.
Absolutely.
Well, that may be straight. We did teach you how to steal material. That was good.
That was true. You did teach me how to do that.
We're good.
Carrie's in us, Maggot, and they mentioned they call me Baba Booey. I don't give a shit if they mention they call me Baba Booey. I don't care. I don't care about they call me Baba Booey. I hope the book does well. I think the fans will enjoy it. I'm hoping he has a success. But I don't give a fuck. I want to get
Thursday when you're on your way out of here.
Don't bother me with Baba Booey.
Can you bang any of those stripper broads on the show?
Teresa Lynn said you banged up.
Teresa who?
She was on here. She was in your movie, Private Parts.
Oh, Amy. No.
Teresa, the one with the
Oh,
the
no.
little ass.
She never said that.
She told
That's
me.
a lie. To admit you're lying.
That's Tony. She told
Tony, did I ever bang Teresa Lynn?
I do have to ask, do you think there's a physical match between him and Beth?
Do you? Yes, they're both tall and have 10 fingers.
Yeah, they look right together.
I don't know, they look more right together now.
Where was this on the regular show?
It just occurred to me when I listened to
First of all, what business is it of anyone when I get paid? And if the CFO, if this guy's the chief financial officer, why is he broadcasting what I need to be earning and what I should be making, and that I'm paid too much? Howard Stern, and this is called a yutz. You know what it is? Somebody asked him a question, and he wants to seem like he knows something.
I don't mean to be adversarial. I'm just saying this has come up on the show, and I know we're asked not to talk about it, but people are calling.
What did they tell you? What did they tell you?
Well, they told us we shouldn't talk about it.
Talk about what?
Talk about your hair loss.
I don't have hair loss. I have more hair than you do.
You know,
Continue
some
to
of
be.
our crew says Beth is the Yoko Ono. I don't know whether that's what? Yes!
Beth, poor Beth. Beth doesn't.
No, this is my crew. These are the guys with the cameras.
Well, listen to me. This is, this is so silly.
Well, Beth always says to me, you're much older than I am. You're 19 years. What am I going to do when you're dead? Blah, 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 blah. And I go, honey.
She's gonna have a party.
Let me tell you something. You're going to have a party.
Oh, look, now we know how Robin's thinking.
Wow.
No, you're gonna say, I'm making a
You're
joke.
fucked up.
Joke.
But when you piss on somebody's job opportunity, Ellen really wanted to be a judge on American Idol. Wasn't her goal when she got into the business, but she really wanted it, and she took the job. She would deny me my dream job because she doesn't like me personally. And that's why I told you Ellen's a cunt.
Welcome, ladies and gents, to QF, a podcast about Howard Stern. I'm your host, Phil Moore, a.k.a. Jim Fix. And with me once again for part 2 of the CBS lawsuit saga is Mr. Carey. How are you, sir?
Good. Hello, QF family.
Yeah, we're going to go with a bit more guys going, just laying down the groundwork for the CBS lawsuit, and wondering if we still have people on the YouTube, some lunkheads there saying he didn't do anything wrong. Like, I don't know what you guys are getting upset about. By the letter of the law, and his argument was, well, people sue people all the time for no cause, but I'm like, this is not just anyone; it's CBS going after one of their ex-employees.
No, and that's not, that's spoken like a true non-lawyer, or people that don't understand. No, you believe me, I've been in court. I've seen frivolous lawsuits filed. I've had to respond to some back when I was representing the county, and the judges don't suffer fools gladly or lightly. I forget what the term or phrase is, but no, people, major corporations and people like that, they have a lot to lose. You're putting your law license on the line just filing something frivolous. Like I said, the times that I've seen frivolous lawsuits filed, they were filed by non-lawyers, like prisoners making claims and things like that,
Right.
but that people that don't have anything to lose. But, CBS is not going to go half-cocked on this. Nobody's going to sign on the bottom line.
You're right. There's personal injury lawsuits that people don't touch because, you're not even talking just prosecuting attorneys. You're talking even defense lawyers. But defense lawyers most often will take a case because somebody's got to take that case. A prosecutor's not going to go after someone unless they think there's a solid chance of winning.
Correct. And then, in that realm, judges are going to give a defense attorney more of a leeway because they're going to, they know what they're up against. But sometimes even, I alluded to this case the last time we talked, but I didn't get into the specifics. But this one kind of reminds me of it in that I had a criminal case once where a person was accused of it was a multi-defendant fraud case, prescription drugs. There was a pharmacy involved, things of that nature. And there were a bunch of defendants, and a couple of the defendants were in the same jail.
Okay.
And there was one of the witnesses, or one of the defendants actually, decided to flip and testify against the other ones. And then I had my client telling me, we're going over the stuff and what this person would say. And the client was like, oh, I'm not too worried about that. And I'm like, well, I am. What do you mean you're not worried about it? Oh, there's no way that person's going to testify. I don't think that's going to be a reality. And I'm like, okay, and I'm just kind of like, whatever. And then about, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, I get a call from the prosecutor, and this was a federal case. So this was an assistant U.S. attorney calls me and was like, "Hey, Kerry, I got some bad news for you." And I'm like, "What's going on?" And it's like, "Well, they're doing an investigation down at the prison. Apparently, your client essentially put some muscle on the person that was flipping, had some person go over and intimidate, like, hey, you might, if you want to stay healthy, you better not testify, that kind of thing,
Okay.
And the way it's kind of relevant to this whole situation was, I didn't feel comfortable continuing on with the representation, obviously.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that story where, I went to the judge and I'm like, look, I want out of this case. And the judge is like, oh, what? She didn't pay you, or he didn't pay you? And I'm like, no, man, it's, so like I said, the judges will give you leeway, but still at the end of the day, your law license and your freedom in certain cases is on the line. And,
and certainly reputation.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, this was from day 3, guys. The Wiggy infomercial was October 8th, 2004. So this is a long one, but trust me, it's worth it.
It's funny. I opened up the Daily News today, and they say they're taking a survey.
I saw that.
Who is going to pay, I guess it's $12 a month, to listen to Howard Stern? And the question misses the entire point of why I made this move to satellite.
But it was also no real survey. They just put on the street and asked 2, 4, 5 people.
Yeah, but even still, you see, when I decided to make this move to satellite radio, it wasn't because I wanted to go somewhere on an island and broadcast somewhere and charge you $12 to listen to me. The fact of the matter is that if I wanted to do that, I'd go on my website every day, crack open a microphone, and you could sit and listen to me that way.
No, but there's a number of things erroneous here. First of all, number one, Robin's going, oh, they only asked like 3 or 4 or 6 people, about the survey. You have no idea how many people they asked. They might have surveyed 100 people, 1,000 people, 500 people, a good sample size. They're not going up with 3 homeless guys and going, hey, what do you think of Howard's move to Sirius? And would you pay $12? Dude, if I'd pay $12 for a house right now if I could get one.
Right.
I'm paying for life here. So I think that first of all, this ties into something I covered with Bob that's going to come out this to Sunday night, actually, the O'Reilly interview, and he talks about how what are they going to get for $12? And he does such a shitty job of selling Sirius in that promo. And that you realize this guy had a year and something to promote the fucking thing and had nothing. It was all exactly as O'Reilly said. He had I'm going to be dirty and that's about it. That's going to be there were supposed to be all this promises of programming and all this shit. And he's like, you're not just going to get me. You're going to get all these other channels. So the other channels are where the value is, not you. This is the worst possible pitch for a new product I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's that's the thing that seems like consistent about Howard in everything is he never does his homework. You know what I mean? He never prepares. I'm convinced he doesn't prepare for anything.
No, he's worse than Robin, or is at least as bad as Robin was with the news. I mean, the other thing is, of course, he says, if I wanted to charge people, I'd do it on my website. No, you wouldn't, because that requires an investment. You'd have to actually put money into, at that time, streaming service, which would have been very expensive in 2004. 2005,
sure.
You would have had, and I don't even know that, I know MP3s started becoming a thing in the late 90s, early 2000s, it's just, there's a 6-year span now we're going into where, people are well and truly downloading. I mean, it's not even, MP3 players are becoming a thing, but a streaming service on his own nickel, his own sound stuff, there'd be an investment, and he was never going to do that.
And I think you're right. This was way before, the podcasting was even really dreamed of,
Yes.
I mean, probably the technology that he would be talking about that would be relevant to him would be SIM cards, of course.
Yeah, right. So Joe Rogan started, his podcast goes back to, I'd say 2008 or 2009, Joe Rogan started doing his podcast. And podcasting in general started around the late 2000s. And then all of a sudden, that's now a new medium. But in 2004, he has no image of that. He has no idea that that's even a thing. There's no way.
No, not at all.
So he's not going to have responsibility for it. He's not going to be the one this is how we're going to do it. So it's either go on radio who will pay me or go on terrestrial, a satellite radio who will pay me. But they're going to do most of the work, not me.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, because he's not going to put in the effort to do anything. You think he's going to learn new technology and, like I said, and sit down and do the homework and research and look, at trends and data and things like that? No. He's the laziest guy in the world.
Yes.
What satellite radio meant to me, beside all of the freedoms, I came up with an idea for a second channel yesterday that is mind-blowing. I'm on fire.
Get your bingo cards out, mind-blowing, guys. We've had it for the fact of the matter is, and I'm sure there's a quite frankly in there somewhere. So is
this when the idea of tissue time with Heidi Cortez popped in his head?
I wonder if he doesn't make mention of it because he doesn't want anybody to steal his ideas, right?
Yeah,
his notebook of ideas.
Someone's gonna sign Heidi Cortez right from underneath him.
Yeah,
that's why I can't sleep. First of all, I went there personally for a million different reasons. A, freedom. B, able to produce programming.
Yeah, creativity.
All of them creative. Financial, yeah, great. But I was making a lot of money here, and I make a lot of money, and because I can reach people, the mother lode, number one in all the markets. So
Oh my God, just delusional.
Number
that
one
continues.
in all the markets.
The other reason this clip is good is because he uses another number. Like, you remember how he was toying with, like, it's only 200,000 people. Maybe it's 400,000. And this one he goes, oh, it's 700,000. So he doesn't know the fucking numbers of what's going on. Like, he has no clue. It's all speculative to him. And then he changes the number depending on the conversation.
Who do you think's talking to him about Sirius? Like what it is, potential subscribers, numbers, things of that nature. Bowie, or I mean, I would presume it would have somebody with more knowledge than that idiot, but at least Bowie will do rudimentary research.
Well, Bowie, yeah, and I wouldn't trust Bowie to get, Bowie can fuck up a wet dream. But I think that when it comes to the Sirius, like, this is what I don't understand. In order for them to pitch, like, if he's pitching himself to satellite radio, like XM said, well, we're not interested. We got Opie and Anthony. We went with them. And I believe XM turned down Howard Stern specifically to get Opie and Anthony, because we don't need two of these people. Like, what's the point? There's no other people would think the conglomerate thing, let's get them all under one umbrella and then you can enjoy them all. I mean, that's one way to approach it. But XM was like, no, we've chosen the younger version of you that'll last longer, we think. And then
and cheaper.
And I'd say so, yeah, for sure. And they also still have the opportunity to do. They were doing terrestrial. I think at some point they would simulcast and do like not simul. They would have to get clean suddenly. They'd have to, from this hour on, no cussing and what have you. And content has to change a little bit. But I imagine if he's wooing satellite, then he has to know the numbers. And then what it is he's only concerned with money. He's not concerned with how many people they reach. And it's in that O'Reilly interview. He says, he goes, this is the ultimate pitch, man. Is it my fault if they turn a profit? If they'd have failed to turn a profit, is my responsibility? So he clearly didn't care how many listeners he was getting. He knew this was a calculated move for cash. That's it.
Oh, right. And you know that from, I know we've talked about it a couple of times, but it was so telling to me that the second he could dump their stock, he did. Like if for pennies on the dollar or whatever. I mean, I know he made, it's all going to be profit because they gave it to him for free. Mm-hmm. But anybody who, I mean, you know how it is. I mean, just think about it. If a company were to come to you and say, Fillmore, we want you to be our, we're starting up a new podcast network. We want you to get it on the ground floor. Here's, 50 million shares of stock. We're going to go public soon. Right. And then they do it. They make it so you can't cash it the day after you get it. They want you to, and that's what they did with him. But, if you really believed in that product, if you wanted to see it grow, wouldn't it behoove you? And actually, you have an incentive to make it grow. If you're in on the ground floor and, they gave you the stock and it starts trading at $1, but then you work and you work with the company and you promote it and you do all these things. And next thing you know, the stock's worth $5 a share. I mean, it's only going to make you richer. But Howard doesn't see it like that. It was just like, well, if it were a penny, a penny per stock, that's a penny more than he had. So he cashed out.
Here's my question. So do you think it was him or Don or a combination of both where they decided let's cash out because we don't think this is going to work? Or were they just banking on, we don't know if it's going to work or not. We don't have any faith. This is money in the hand right now if we sell it. And that's exactly. Do you think that's as far as they thought?
Yeah. And I don't know how much Don had to do with that. Like, I don't think Howard consulted with him on whether I should sell the stock. I think he knew the second they gave it to him and he said, well, when can I cash it? And they go, 6 months from now. Okay.
Right.
And then, the day that 6 months, he put an X on his calendar. And then the day that day came, he sold it. And, I don't think it took any more thought than that.
Okay. And so the other question, of course, was if okay, here we go. So they're trusting him. He's the pitch man. We're going to give you this stock. We're going to give you this airtime. We're going to give you all this money. But then all of a sudden, he's also going to talk in this clip about how I'm not going to, I think it's this one or the following one where he goes, I don't want people to pay extra on top of the $12. There's no premium channels. Meanwhile, the Howard TV thing has to come out, the on-demand thing, and you got to pay for that extra.
Yeah. Yeah, and he had to have known. You think he knew it at the time, or this was a little?
Well, actually, no. At this point, maybe not. I think because he's still on E, so he still thinks I can be on E and I can be on Sirius because it's too. I don't know. E has no connection to Viacom. I don't believe at the time, and so two separate entities. E will continue with me. Maybe he thought we're doing well. We'll continue to do well. E will still want me. I think at that time, not just wanting to do a change with Ryan Seacrest coming in and keeping up with the Kardashians and all that shit. I think E figured they did the numbers. They said if he's going to move to a medium where they don't have guaranteed listeners, we're going to see fewer returns on the show. We're not going to get the same advertisers anymore. So the radio show would in fact tank whatever ratings he was getting for E at that time.
Yeah.
So that's why they decided we're getting rid of him.
Oh, well, yeah. Why? When you mean when E decided to get rid of him when he flipped the satellite?
Well, yeah, like right before, like 6 months before, the middle of 2005, they say we're not continuing with E anymore. So those guys all got hired at Sirius, all the E guys. So or for on demand, work for on demand or in demand. Sorry, I keep saying on demand. So I think they figured that this is also going to be shitloads of work to bleep him and edit this for E. It's going to be more work, and is it going to be as entertaining? He's got a lesser audience. Why keep him?
Well, you're right, and that's the key. I mean, when he was on terrestrial, he was obviously reaching more people, and then people would tune in to see him at night or whatever if they're listening to him on the show, and you have to kind of take that step back in time to think about that. I mean, because the way I was introduced to Howard, believe it or not, was the opposite of most people. I didn't listen to Howard. I knew who he was, but I didn't listen to him on the radio. I started watching him on E.
Yes,
the E show, and then I'm like, oh, he's on the radio too. And then I started listening to him on the radio after watching him on the E show. But the E show was on late at night. This is the era when he'd have all those, like porn stars and strippers and things like that. And they would be chatting them up and talking them up. And then, I remember I'd be curious. I'd be like, man, I wonder what these girls look like. So then I would tune into the E show and, when they caught up and then you were like, oh, okay, that's that girl that was talking 2 weeks ago or whatever.
Right.
And that was kind of the draw. And because you could put a visual with the radio, and you're right, he probably looked at it and was like, "Look, this guy's going somewhere behind a paywall. We've got no skin in the game, and it's less people are going to be listening to him, or less available. So why? What's the point?"
I think there absolutely was a discussion about is he going to be able to get celeb guests, because part of the draw for the E show was when he would have celebs come on and they would have the visual component of him interviewing Dina Meyer or James Cameron or Suge Knight when he came in, like all these people that and you want to see how they're going to interact, like Mr. T getting angry because Howard brought up his mother and wouldn't talk for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something. He stared at him. He gave this angry stare. I remember that episode like it was yesterday, and so once you lose that, like the Rachel Kunter thing, like she comes in the first month and she turns down that fucking show at Sirius. I'm sure he was livid because he like Len said, he realized, oh my God, like this is not, if people think they can do this is a huge slap in the face to me who just got here. Like she's saying she's agreeing to come on, but not on camera. She walks out. Now he's got a guest walk out, and he was pissed that the one guest he had that day, I believe, left and stuck him with nothing to do. And he was pissed because, it made him look like the optics made him look like shit.
Right. Yeah. So, it's that era, I don't know. My thing was I was never into his celebrity
interviews.
I never thought, well, they were funny when people would call in and bust the celebrities' balls or whatever if it were that type of guest. I mean, that was the funny stuff. But not, since then, especially with Howard being this greatest interviewer in the world, it's just horse crap because he was never a good interviewer.
No.
But my biggest thing was like to tune in to see Hank or Beetlejuice or the Jesus twins and just, like the weirdos that would be in that universe,
Totally.
Because you're actually giving up a lot by going away from here.
Absolutely. I'm walking away from a lot. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be people who won't follow us. The notion that someone would just pay $12 a month to hear me is bizarre. That's missing the point. I'm talking about creating a new medium. Mm-hmm. The technology is there so that you can drive around with it, listen to it in your home.
He's not creating it. It exists. What the fuck is he talking about?
Right. What's so new about it? I mean, the only thing that was really revolutionary, really, if you think about it, was, it's not censored and supposedly didn't have commercials. That was, yeah. I mean, that was the big thing.
I think the best thing about the Sirius, let's say the first 2 years of Sirius, was the fact that they had the wrap-up show would create extra content that he could recycle into the next day, which would recycle itself. It fed itself, and then also ultimately stuff in the hallways would get filmed, and they had to make content, and sometimes those interactions would make for more interesting stuff. Instead of just hearing that those fights happen, you actually had them recording these things. Right. And so when that happened, and that there was just more. There was more of the carcass to unearth, I suppose, to feast on, but that can only sustain for so long.
Right. Another big benefit, I was just thinking about it. Another big benefit of Sirius, where I remember I liked it for this fact, was the fact that it was satellite. If you were on the road, if you're driving, between states, especially out west where the distances are where it's far between, major cities and stuff like that. You can't listen to the radio in, say, Los Angeles and then drive to Denver and listen to the same station. It's gonna fade out. So the fact that it was satellite was great, I'm sure. And it was, like they say it, like the truck drivers and people like that are a big part of their audience for that reason.
Totally. Yep.
But you're not just, and if Tom thinks this is a commercial, I'm not doing a commercial. I'm telling you my inner thoughts. This is an industry about more than just me. I believe in the industry. I believe in the product.
Well, that's
whenever I see a guy driving around in his car with this satellite stuff, I sit there and I go, wow, look what he's got. I like it. It's a great toy. It's a cool thing.
Day 3. And for your information, guys, I believe this was in the first, I'm going to say the first hour of the show.
Well, and I'm trying to remember how you knew somebody was listening to Sirius back then. Was there an antenna? I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. You know what I mean? Like, how do you know if somebody's listening to Sirius?
I think,
back then?
well, didn't you have to have like a special antenna go on the roof of your car, like something, and then you had to, like the audio setup was, if you had the portable player, which you plugged it into the cassette deck, I suppose, that cassette deck that would allow you to play those things, I think, and then you had to put an antenna on top of your car. Unless I missed my guess, I don't recall, because if you had the portable, you're not going to put on headphones while you're going to work,
right?
Like driving.
But I think you're right. I think that first generation, it was like a magnetic thing. If I remember right, all I remember is there was one point where, I think I've told this story before, where I had an old girlfriend of mine. I bought I had an aftermarket Sirius thing, and I gave it to her. Okay. And she had a Mini Cooper, and I not wired it, but I kind of finagled it and set it up in her car or whatever. And then when we broke up, she grabbed it out. She grabbed the unit out of the thing and threw it at my car. And dented it. But I don't remember. I'm trying to remember. That was the only thing that she threw. And I'm like, well, I wonder what she's going to do with the rest of the stuff. But if I remember right, I think there was some type of antenna that was like had a magnet or something on it that you would just plunk on the roof.
I'm just looking at some of the things here. And
the tech. We're looking at the
tech. I'm not sure if this is it. Okay. Infotainment Silverado 1500 factory GM Sirius XM satellite radio kit for option code IOR hard mount.
Oh, God.
Maybe this is the antenna. I have no idea.
It looks like it, but it looks like that's pretty. There's got to be like some kind of portable one.
That's exactly what that is. It says, I got this other one here. It's the same thing, GM thing. Remove and replace existing antenna on roof, held in place by a single 10 millimeter bolt. Make these connectors together. It really looked like, you got to be MacGyver to get that thing installed.
Well, wait a minute. While you're on there, look up Sirius Stiletto. I forgot what that looked like. I want to look at it again. Because that was like a handheld one, if I remember right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, there it
is. Were you lucky enough to have a dock like this pimp dock?
No, I had let's see. I think when I was buying cars, it came with already with Sirius in it, and the only unit I ever bought from Sirius was like an aftermarket thing. I couldn't even tell you. It wasn't Sirius brand. It was I don't know, Joe's Sirius satellite thing. It was like
Well, I mean, it just looks like every shitty iRiver low rent piece of trash, made in China, of course, and Stiletto 2 that came up here, by the way, guys, and loads of them, how to troubleshoot it, how to fix it yourself, and a lot of people would have just thrown it in the garbage.
Weren't they, when they had that big parade or celebration thing? I remember they were giving out the boom boxes. Remember that? Oh yeah, there you go.
Okay. So let's see. Sirius Boombox 2006. Let's see what comes up. Okay, so this is what they look like. Hold on. This is a little too large. Let's go here. Crutchfield. What the fuck is that? There's no way that looks a lot newer.
Yeah, that's like an aftermarket one. Because there was a point in time. Oh, they're the ones that he was giving out. Okay.
Yeah. So let me just see. Yeah, that's pretty much it here. So Sirius Sportster SP1, the remote tuner and boombox. It really does look like a piece of shit.
Oh man.
Oh
yeah,
fuck.
But there was a point though. I wish I could remember. I'm gonna, after we get off of this, I'm gonna go on a Google deep dive of Sirius tech. But there was a point where. Yeah, they opened themselves up to aftermarket, the other suppliers. Because I had have you ever heard of I think it's pronounced Tivoli, Tivoli? They're like these really nice wooden. They look like old school radios, but they're up to date kind of radios. And they made one. I bought one off of eBay, and it had Sirius on it, and I'm trying to think if I still have it. No, I don't have it anymore. But for a long time, it sort of worked. And then, wait, go up to the Sportster.
Which one is that?
Oh crap! I just saw it. I just saw it.
Because I was looking at I just typed up receiver. So, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it was called Sportster. It was one of the. Oh, there it is, there in that package.
Okay, right here. Yeah.
Yes, I remember those.
Okay, Sportster Replay was what it was called, and they had this massive mount that looks like something you play air hockey with, and then the remote. It just looks like one of those remotes for a shitty hotel that covers all the bases, aircon, massage on the bed, all that shit. And it's just the most vile, disgusting thing you'd ever want to put in your hands. Anyway, we'll continue with the audio, guys.
I listened to the Comedy Channel there all day yesterday.
Right.
And I was like, wow. If
and
there's
it's
seven,
free, no bleeps.
If there's 7 people, I was listening to Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
And, so if there's 7 people listening to the Comedy Channel, Doesn't matter. Those 7 people are satisfied. It's no longer about ratings. A bluegrass fan can get in. That's what we're talking about. It's not, if you just had to go follow me.
He doesn't want to do a commercial.
Well, then who would do that? I wouldn't leave here to go.
Just for one person.
If I was going to go be out on an island somewhere.
Right.
I believe in the future. I believe in the product. I believe in the technology.
Fucking hell.
And I know the hottest item in cars right now is satellite radio. Everybody wants it. Why?
It's
Because they
SIM
love
cards.
it. And I have banked my future on it.
Right.
I've decided that for the next 5 years of my life, I am going to spend my time forgetting all the other things that I'm involved with.
So listen. If you take that specifically, the next 5 years of my life includes the following year when you're not on Sirius. Like, and he's already, and this is what I figured out from listening to this audio. In much the same way that he was trying to deliberately get himself, I think in some other markets, he was trying to get himself fired by the company so that they'd have to pay him, and he could spend that time going to promote whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's you know what, that's a good theory, because again, this is day 3, right? Day 3, and this is a full-throated commercial.
Yes. Tom comes in again today, like for this one.
This is my number 1 priority.
Yeah, it's liken it to the start of cable television.
Yeah.
When that happened, it was like, we got the networks and we get them for free.
Yeah.
But there became something you couldn't get on the networks on cable. It was different.
Yeah, well, my point is, when I looked at my future, I said, take me off of it. Don't even put me on.
Just let me program.
I believe in the medium.
Yeah.
You know. And this is not to say that this medium doesn't have value. Of course it does. It's a $20 billion industry, and I believe it'll grow. But the fact of the matter is, for my future, for me to be able to flourish creatively, I've been after the company for years to start a Howard Stern radio network. I had it built into my contract, but I couldn't get it off the ground because of the FCC and the government.
What does the FCC and the government have to do with him starting up his own channel?
Nothing. It's probably, well, it's not probably. It was a money thing.
Yeah.
You know, and an effort thing. That's the other thing, effort. You know, and he doesn't want to put any effort in anything. Like he wanted, you know, he said he had it in his contract for them to create a Howard Stern network. Well, that's going to take some doing. It's going to take some effort, even on his part. And, you know, if you don't put in the effort, it's not going to get done.
Well, that's it. And I mean, say what you like about Kumi, and he's certainly not one of my favorite people, but he went out, he did his own thing, and he was flourishing for a while. But recently he came out, he was bought by Gavin McInnes, I think, bought Compound Media and merged it with his own whatever brand. And Kumi was on, someone posted the video, I can't remember who, it might have been G-Chup. I can't remember, but either way, it was in our Facebook group that he explained his overhead was too much, and he was paying people for like a fair amount of money to do, and then more money wasn't coming in. Like he was hemorrhaging money, but still paying a lot of money and not coming ahead. And his accountant was going like, "Why are you doing this?" And he goes, "Well, I don't really know." So merging it, you know, he had to do it, and I guess some people still perceive him as having value, but it's obviously the glory days of Compound Media are long gone.
Right, but you know, Howard had enough juice. He certainly had enough money.
Oh yeah,
but he had enough. He had enough juice. He had enough people willing to do things with him. Where you know, if he could have put the effort in, if he could have put some skin in the game, which,
yes,
you know, I mean, it's like anything else. It's risk, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta, you know, you put up money. You know, what do they say? Scared money doesn't make money. So,
yeah,
you know, sometimes you have to put up and see what happens. I mean, it's called investing. You know, like.
So, is it any reason is there any other reason why he would not invest in Son of the Beach as a real producer instead of just in name only?
Right. Right. Yeah. Because he doesn't care. All he cares about is getting the check. Like, I mean, he said it. I can remember him. The words out of his mouth were, I want to just make the most amount of money I can, and not do
the least
work.
amount of effort.
Yeah, least amount of effort. Like he just, like why, you know how it is. He'd go into these rants where he'd say stuff like, "Oh, why can't they just come in and just give me the money?"
Yeah.
Somebody, I can remember him talking about people dying, and like, oh, well, just give me send me the money, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Why didn't you leave that to me in your will? Right.
Right. Or, just, he really could have, but he won't do it. At the end of the day, he just wants the money, or when he would talk about those, he'd be jealous of people doing the
commercials.
I was going to say that commercials and then game show hosts.
Yes.
Like he seems to think that like those people don't do anything. They just roll out, Pat Sajak or whatever. And, and they turn the wheel and he doesn't do anything and he collects a check. And it's like, no, these people are, those days they're out there grinding. That's, it's not as easy as it looks.
Well, I think he found that out with AGT, and also he realized like a TV show. I think it was who's the guy? What's his name? Tony Shalhoub, who was in Monk.
Right.
And that was a great show. And he was talking to Burt Reynolds. It was the Dinner for Five episode, and he goes, 35 hours a week. Just you're filming, you rehearse, it's a regular day. Now you clock in at whatever time and you finish up whatever, and then you go home. It's the best. Like you said, I don't know that I would go back to movies if I could have this all the time. Like TV money, TV scheduling, everything's regimented. Everything, there's not a 12, 16-hour shooting day, and I don't know, like the La Brea tar pits or some shit. You're filming a movie about Mars or something, and what was it? It was Christopher Walken said, we filmed the movie Nick of Time in the Peninsula Hotel or somewhere like that. He goes, we filmed it there. We stayed there the entire time. He goes, that's how to do it. Right. In The Deer Hunter, we were in cages slapping each other,
Right. In the Philippines in the middle of summer,
Right. Getting dysentery, dysgracia, diphtheria, all these D's, like that. I love that line in The Dogs of War. Anything starting with D I didn't get. The doctor goes, yeah, dead. Anyway.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say, but that's Howard though, man. He won't invest in anything. Like you said, why not take a risk with Son of the Beach? I mean,
right.
I don't know. People crap on it all the time. I don't know. Maybe it just shows the level of my my humor.
Comedy.
Yeah, of comedy. I thought it was funny. I watched it every week.
Well, it reminded me of there's a line that when Richard Pryor did Stir Crazy, right, with Gene Wilder, and that was a massive, massive hit. Silver Streak was big too, but I think Stir Crazy was the real one. And
film.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, it was definitely see no evil, hear no evil, even though that had some funny bits, but that was clearly like take a paycheck and run. Anyway, he said, I want to thank all of you who watched the film I did with Gene Wilder. And I listen, I'm not meaning to insult anybody's, intelligence, but I don't get it. He goes, I saw this film. I said, my shit is over. I went and bought some land.
Oh man, that movie, was filmed in the prison. It was in Arizona, Florence, Arizona, where the main prison is. It was filmed. A lot of it was shot there on location, there in Tucson. Mm-hmm.
That was was it? He goes, I made N-words and laugh all day in prison. He goes, hey, keep their mind off the booty.
Oh man, what did he say? He said, oh, the thing that I learned about prisons is, thank God they're prisons.
Why'd you kill the whole family? They was home.
Yeah, that was like real. I think that he pulled that, like that was real. Like he talked to some inmate that told him that.
Oh yeah. Well, there's loads of stories about filming in prisons. Like Abel Ferrara said, we were at I think it was Rikers where they were filming The King of New York. I can't remember. I can't remember which one, but anyway, or Chino, I can't remember. Anyway, he said when we went there, they said don't make eye contact with the cons, don't make eye contact with anybody, and you don't wear certain colors. And so when you go in there, you just stay away from this population. Some of those are lifers. There's nothing for them to lose. To take you out means nothing. So just be real careful. Anyway, that goes without saying.
And how many efforts at syndication you have to make before it finally took hold?
Oh, please. Too hard. So you got to understand something. When you say to someone, gee, would you pay $12 a month to listen to Howard Stern? Yeah, I think there are some people who might, but I'm not interested in that. That's why I said no premiums. I don't want people paying more money, on top of what they pay. But I believe the medium is worth it, even without me on it. Now, if it influences your decision to go with me versus the competing company, well, great. Mm-hmm. I believe in this company. That's what competition is about. That's what this company. That's why I went with them. I like them.
Oh my Lord!
But this move that I'm making, leaving commercial radio, regular radio, whatever you call it, terrestrial radio, I thought this through from every bit of my gut, and I'm telling you, I believe in the industry.
Well, I remember being in areas where you couldn't get cable when cable started, and you were just dying to get it because of the additional programming you could select from.
Well,
that's what you're trying to do. You're creating that new programming that will turn people on and make them want to have an additional service.
Now, I will say with TV, for example, the landscape changed drastically. Like the way it works now, as far as I understand, is you pay for channels that you want. Like in the States, I don't know how it works. I mean, people have basic cable. Maybe they have no choice to opt. You can't opt out of it. You just get it. It's free. But with cable, with subscription-based stuff, literally it's a la carte. You go on, if you've got an Apple TV, you just choose whatever you want to pay for, and that's your bill. It's not like the old days where if you wanted a satellite package, this one's $200 a month and this one's $125. If you want sports, you got to get all this package.
Yeah, but here's the problem. The problem is the content creators. For example, like just earlier today, I met a buddy of mine who's a huge football fan, NFL and college football, and we met to watch the United States play France in the Olympic basketball for the gold medal game. But anyway, while we were there, we were talking about. He was saying that he had put together, or he had figured out that he needed to subscribe or go to 8 different platforms to be able to watch all the NFL games that he wanted to see this season. And that's crazy, because like different teams, different games, different this, different that are signed up with different providers, like some people are on Hulu, some stuff is on, I don't know, some other streaming service, Peacock or whatever, and it's just, and I was telling him this, I go, I can't remember where I saw this, whether it was on social media somewhere where a guy had his bills set up, like Hulu, $12.99 a month, YouTube Plus, $14.99 a month. Right. And down the line, and at the end of his total was like $200 a month or whatever, and it's like, and his cable bill used to be $200 a month, and it's like, man, I just might as well just stick with cable. Yeah, and because so many different people, they're striking independent deals, which I guess is great for them, but ultimately for us, I knew this was going to happen. I knew at the end of the day. When everyone was talking about cutting the cable and cutting the cord and how it's going to benefit everyone, I'm like, nah, it's just a matter of time before they figure out how to screw us all. And they have.
Yeah.
And they have.
one of those ways, and that's Sirius XM has just there's lawsuits about it now, class action lawsuits about a lack of transparency with cancellations, charging people subscriptions after the fact. I don't have the thing handy, but some people send these things to me constantly. Like whenever there's a stock issue with Sirius, they love to post it. But when it's lawsuits, especially, and it's. So I don't know if that trial's still ongoing or if it's yet to start up, but it'll end up being something that Sirius just fucking settles. I'm gonna guarantee it.
Oh yeah,
just a big buyout because people have been getting fucked for you forget a subscription or you think you've unsubscribed and they say no you're still paying for it, and all of a sudden you just got billed for another year. Right.
Yeah. Who was that? I think it was DirecTV. They had an exclusive contract with the NFL for God, I want to say over a decade, but they got sued because it's just what you were saying. I mean, they were just gouging people, and someone had to do a class action and it settled. It settled for got $1 gazillion or something crazy. But I think the last thing I read was, of course, some judge stepped in to put the brakes on the settlement because it was too big, and so now they're relitigating damages or whatever. So, but still, it's a lot of these, it's not as once they figure out a way to screw us, they will. It's just the nature of the beast.
For those of you who are fed up paying all these kinds of bullshit things, there's a website. I know I use it for the NHL. It's something like NHL66.ir or something, and basically it will stream the away. If you want the away commentary, you want the home commentary, regardless of where it's being played, you can get it, and they'll actually show up I think up to about 12 hours after the game on replay in case you didn't see it. And it's free. You just go on, and there's one for NFL, and I believe there might even be one for NBA. And the streams are wicked. I wouldn't say they're 4K or whatever. With if you have a massive TV, you're going to see some imperfections. But if you have a decent sized computer monitor, or whatever, that like a 24-inch or whatever, it'll look great. It'll look perfectly as good as you would need to, and it costs nothing.
Yeah, I had a buddy who was. He had something. It was I don't know exactly how it worked, but it was definitely pirating NFL games. And the funny thing was, though, like the streams, you would get on the streams, and then some of them were on YouTube. It was really bizarre. Like they would broadcast on YouTube, but then people would comment, and then so you'd have a whole bunch of comments about the game or whatever, and then the NFL would pick up on it and they would shut the streams off, and so you'd have to jump around to get on those streams or whatever. So it was pretty interesting, but they're going to police that to the nth degree to make sure you're not watching anything for free, and then here's another example too. I think people want to pay now, or people are used to instant gratification now. I mean, instant. So, for example, all right. So last week, when they got into the medal rounds in basketball, the United States' first opponent was Brazil, right? And they played here in Phoenix. The game was at like 9:00 in the morning. All right. So I'm at work. I obviously couldn't watch it at work. I found out. Whatever, I get these stupid updates on my phone. So even though I don't want to get them sometimes, especially with sports scores, but I found out the U.S. won. And so when I came home that night, it was like 5-6 o'clock. I go, I'll watch the game anyway, just to kind of see how it went, see the highlights or whatever. Yeah. So it's like, well, you got to go to Peacock. And I'm like, okay, which is NBC's streaming service. Sure. And I'm like, all right. And they're like, oh, well, do you have an account? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So I get on there, and they're like, oh, if you want to watch that game now, you got to sign up for the premium service at $12.99 a month.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, and I go, screw that. So I go back to just my regular cable or whatever, and then I look on like the regular NBC channel, and it's like, oh, replay of the game at 8 o'clock at night, so an hour and a half later. I'm like, perfect. Well, I'll just wait.
Yeah,
but
some people can't do that.
No, some people are like, screw that. I got to watch like, why would you pay $12 a month to watch a replay of a game when you just have to wait an hour and a half later to watch it?
Some people fall for it. I imagine a lot of the companies fall, like they count on old ladies to, forget that they've subscribed to something, or their kids subscribe them to some newspaper, and all of a sudden, they don't remember that it's there. And there are people that might go, they die, like elderly who die, and their credit card is still getting charged. And they haven't been able to read your fucking newspaper for 6 months. They're in the ground, dude.
Right.
Cancel.
I already was talking to my new bosses, and I started yesterday work on 2 new channels. Literally, I had the idea for years to do it on commercial radio. It was just too much of a nightmare to go to all the individual companies. It's already started. I've already picked a name for the channels. I've already hired people.
Wow.
That's how fast I'm moving on this stuff.
And this is day 3.
Yeah, day 3. So he said it was hard to go to different companies. I think it was, I couldn't find anybody to finance this shit instead of me.
Right.
That's what he's not admitting.
I couldn't find anyone that was willing to pay me to do this for me.
Yes. Or like invest at the very least investors, like anybody who would shoulder the burden. And I guarantee he'd be like, yeah, I'll put in 50 million. And then what he would do is find a bunch of other people to pony up whatever millions he was supposed to, so that he wouldn't be out of pocket. I mean, this is the guy. Remember, guys, this is the guy who he doesn't pay Buchwald. He didn't pay Buchwald 15% of his salary. He made Sirius pay him the 15% it would be, so that it wouldn't be taken out of his money.
Jesus Christ.
So, I mean, Buchwald, if Buchwald got his money, I'm sure he didn't give a fuck, but where it came from. But to do that, because he thought like when he first got an age, he's like, why do I have to give up 15%? Like, why do I have to give up anything? That's how naive, and that's how and like ultimately cheap and what do you call it, pathological he is with money and holding on to it. When Ben died, he was pissed off that he left the house to Ellen, his sister.
Right, but Buchwald, man, I'm telling you, Buchwald's like the worst agent in the world when it comes to contracts, because the standard contract is it's 15% of what he makes. So if Sirius agreed, like, I don't know, they must have done it completely separate. That's the only way I could think of them doing it, because I'm like, well, if they're just fronting, if they're going to front Howard the extra 15%. I see what you're saying. They actually paid him completely separately.
Yes,
the 15%. Okay.
Or they put it on Howard's bracket. They said, look, here's 115 million, knowing that this 15 million goes to Don. I think they just did it. They dealt with that themselves. He didn't get 115. They just gave Don 15 million towards it. I can't believe.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is Don's supposed to get 15% of 115 million. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
He's
okay.
supposed to get his cut off of that anyway. Off of that too.
So you think you should get an extra 1.5 million on top of it?
Exactly. But we all know that Don's not the greatest when it comes to contracts.
Apparently not. And you based on that what do you call it? The Sirius lawsuit, the Sirius XM lawsuit. That was funny.
Well, see, that's what I was trying to get around to yesterday. You can work on things already?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I can't work on...
Because I said, you're going to burst if, you've got to wait for everything for 15 months.
No. But this show right here, what you're listening to now, is my priority for the next 15 months.
But you're going to get flooded with your new ideas. They're going to start coming because you have an outlet for
I got a killer idea. Just a killer idea. But here's the thing. And I've never been this excited. That's why I'm up all friggin' night.
You may never sleep again.
I know.
You're going to turn into one of those crazy artists who cuts off your ear. You're so crazy.
Yeah, I'm like a painter being given the freedom to do whatever he wants.
Right. You're going to just go wacko.
Oh. But here's how I know this is the coup de grace of my life. Listen to this. To get a whole...
Does he know what coup de grace means? It's the finishing stroke. It's like it's what you do before you kill someone, fucking idiot. Or like if you wound someone in what do you call it, in battle, and you got to fit, like I said, you got to put a gun to their head and just
you finish them off.
Right. I think he wanted to say like pièce de résistance or something, like just something else. Fucking idiot.
Hold of this guy, Robert Peters, president in morality and media.
One of our oldest friends.
So he contacts, let's see, what is this? I guess it's AP or... Here's the headline. MIM president. That's morality and media, a phony baloney organization.
Well, yeah, that we created, sort of.
MIM president Robert Peters misspoke. Howard Stern's planned radio program on Sirius satellite radio, not acceptable compromise. They are freaking out, the religious right.
Yeah, they did. They thought, one way. I told you they'd have to regroup and have a meeting, and everybody would have to figure out what they're supposed to say.
So now, as a child, I loved chess. I loved thinking 6 to 10 moves ahead.
There's a guy who lost to like 10-year-olds and went to a tutor. He's talking about chess like he's, the fucking grandmaster. I love when he would throw that analogy in.
Checkmate, asswipes. Checkmate.
It's over.
It's over. Listen to this guy twisting in the wind. Robert Peters, president of Morality Media, had the following additional comments about today's announcement that the Howard Stern radio show will be moving from broadcast radio to Sirius satellite radio in 2006. Quote, earlier today, I was interviewed by 2 media outlets in response to the announcement that the Howard Stern radio show will be moving from broadcast radio to Sirius satellite radio in 2006. What I said during those 2 interviews, namely...
You're still using this for a fucking infomercial.
How long is this? This has been going on for how many minutes now?
This is an 8.5-minute clip of a 24-minute clip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so Tom comes in and starts mixing it up, and he is such a fucking child. Like it's why when I finished listening to this, I thought for sure what he's trying to do is his best to get fired. But what he doesn't quite understand, what he doesn't quite understand is they would fuck him for breach of they would if it's not in his contract about this serious shit, they can't fire him for that.
Right. But you know what? That's I hadn't thought about that theory, but I think it's a good one. I mean, what Tom should have done though is came in there with a rolled up newspaper and just smacked him across the head with it.
Yeah, totally.
That Stern on Sirius was a compromise that I would try to live with. He's going to try and live with.
Yeah.
As if he was in on this decision. Was based on my mistaken assumption that Stern's program would be carried on a subscriber additional pay level, an additional fee.
Like, what does he have to do with where you're carried on satellite?
Yeah. In other words, now he's saying it's not enough.
Satellite is not enough.
These religious guys are freaking out. They make millions by raising money off of poor saps trying to get me off commercial radio. With me gone, their whole business collapses. So now the guy's going, oh, we're still against him because, yeah, you're paying for your satellite, but you're not paying on top of what everyone else is paying.
For him.
Checkmate, ass. Checkmate. It ain't going to fly. You can't regulate something people pay to bring into their homes unless you're having sex with children.
Well, you know what? He'll probably still be able to get money from the people who sent him money.
This is their new push.
Yeah.
And it's not going to fly because anyone who buys the service, just like HBO, they buy the service. They're choosing to bring it into the public airwaves, and protecting children argument is over.
Yeah. I mean, you should hear what's already on basic satellite.
Right. Oh, I mean, I listen to Chris Rock and Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, you're pretty silly, sir, for even piping up at all.
When he would align himself with Chris Rock just by name dropping him constantly, that used to fucking irritate me. Because nothing wrong with Chris Rock. He's done some phenomenal stand-up work. He is a great comic. There's no question. I don't think he's at the upper echelon of the business, and because he has a lot of people writing for him a lot of the times. Right. And he buys jokes from people. Spade buys jokes. Lots of comedians do. It's kind of standard practice. But he always used to use Chris Rock as sort of like like if I'm Chris Rock, I'm with Chris Rock, I can use him to sell my point. And I don't think Chris appreciated it, to be honest with you. I think he thought, don't you fucking use my clout to defend yourself for your shit version of what you think comedy is.
Right. Yeah, I think there was a point where Howard kind of thought he was a comic, or
yes,
Yeah. And it's like, dude, you're not. You're not witty enough. You were never funny.
No, fuck no.
This religious right is freaking out and twisting in the wind. The future has landed right on top of their Jesus-loving heads.
Like people didn't see the religious right infiltrating the government. They didn't see this coming from you.
This took them. This is why I didn't breathe a word of it, and I punched them right in the face. Checkmate.
So tough.
Yeah,
I loathe HBO and Showtime. But if non-obscene, but filthy, indecent, and lewd programming is to be permitted on TV, premium channels like HBO or Showtime are the place for it. Now along comes Sirius satellite radio. He objects because there's news, talk, sports, and music and children's entertainment alongside with Howard Stern's show.
Yeah, but
they're paying for it, douchebag.
It's none of your business.
So this is my point. At this point, the Joel Hollander and Les Moonves and all these guys, they're pissed as fuck. There's going to be a day that comes up, I think it's the 26th of the month, where he gets suspended. So for one day, he got thrown off the air, basically. Like they said, you're not on the air. And that was the day that they had a meeting. So they had to do a best of Stern. I have it on my phone somewhere. And then he comes back and then he discusses it. But he comes back after a week of vacation, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, it's a Thursday, then he comes back Friday, doesn't mention it. And then the following week, when he does come back, that's one of the first things on his mind. Like, oh, I'm not a very popular person at this company. You go figure.
Was that the beginning of the
Yeah, it was starting to. He hadn't gotten into it, but he's going to.
It's none of your business anymore. You don't have to expose your children to it.
It's not the free airwaves. That was your cry.
Yeah. Guess what? Argument over. Checkmate.
Jesus.
It's going to be a beautiful future. I was driving in my car listening to the Comedy Channel.
I was driving in my car.
I'm hearing dirty words, and it's like I'm sitting there with my friend, and I go,
my friend, Ronnie.
Right.
So there's no friend.
Did they play anything dirty?
Yeah, the friend is Ronnie.
Because it went right over us.
Right.
I mean, the F word was used. It was Eddie Murphy routine.
Well, I heard two women talking one day. They were just having a conversation, and the MF word was flying like you, and I was like, whoa, that just came out of the speaker in my car. But it was natural because that's the way they would have talked.
Sirius informs parents that some programming may contain explicit language. We are not responsible for content that you or anyone else might find appropriate. That's right. Don't subscribe.
That's right. You could not have this at all. You don't have to buy a box. You don't have to do it.
Yeah, listen to what the religious guy goes. Well, if that company that provides the...
Like, you couldn't get this on, like, late night Susan Powder fucking shit. You couldn't like, those 30-minute infomercials. Do you remember one called Calban?
No. What was that? Was it a vitamin or something? Or something?
I'll see if I can find the commercial. You'll laugh your ass off. Hold on. There's a quote by some guy who's from from South. Calban commercial. Okay, I think it's hyphenated. Calban. That's it. I think this is.
Oh, okay.
Dateline, Finland, March 1980.
Oh fuck! Hold on. Let me try another one here. There's got to be a better one. Calban. 1988, 89. Okay, let's see.
Dateline, Finland, March 1980. The most important breakthrough in weight control history has been made. Scientists testing a naturally occurring compound's ability to lower cholesterol found an unexpected benefit. Every person who consumed this formula experienced a significant weight loss.
So there's a guy near the end. This is him. He goes, with Calban, I feel and look like a new man. And he's still a bit of a tub.
Right.
I lost 62 pounds in 3 months. With Calban, I feel and look like a new man.
If after 3...
Anyway, so Stern's got using the airways for this. The fans are going apeshit. They're complaining. They're nuts. There's a Howard Stern. Keep in mind, guys. There's a Howard Stern bulletin board, and it's getting universally there's negative negativity in that bulletin board beyond belief, and I guarantee this was a massive part of it at this point in time.
Oh, I remember that bulletin board. It was real. Oh man, you talk about getting in the internet. What is the Wayback Machine? I think they still have those pages up. I remember that.
And they were as vicious as you can imagine, but like funny vicious, like really, really like cutting.
Programming and reaps big money and profits from it is not responsible. Who is?
The person who bought and installed the equipment and then paid a subscription?
They're gearing up. They will have no one to fight anymore. I took the wind out of their sails. The new medium is everything. I predict this new medium
it's dead air.
will outstrip regular radio within 5 years. That's my prediction. Laugh all you want. See what happens. See if I'm not right. With or without me. I think
it was coming anyway, yes.
Me being on it is like Milton Berle going to television. It started people to buy receivers.
Right, and it put them in the headlines in a big way.
Yeah, Bill Carter in the New York Times said, well, this is like Milton Berle leaving radio when it was the most popular medium and going to TV.
Yeah.
And I agree with that, and I'll tell you why. Because it'll speed up the delivery of the audience. But it was inevitable anyway.
You said, though.
I think that the only way Sirius would have flourished is if cellular networks, 5G, 4G didn't come about. Like if people had connectivity problems with internet, like broadband and shit, that would have saved them, or that would have given them a few more years. But it just was the wrong technology at the wrong time, and the wrong pitch people. Like they should have happened 5 years earlier, and at least they would have had a foothold in the market at the point where they could afford to be. They wouldn't be so in debt. They could actually be an entity where they could be bought out by eventually a Spotify or something.
Yeah, but they're like you said, man. I could totally see the end of this stuff at some point because those satellites. First of all, they're not cheap. It's not cheap to frickin' put them up there in space, and they degrade over time. So you can't, you know what I mean? You just can't shoot the thing up there and it's there for for the next 100 years. It's going to come down. So you got to constantly have the money to buy the space on the spaceship to get it up there. So I don't know how they're going to do it.
I don't either. Like LW says they've got enough incoming cash flow to keep them going, but it's really what do you call it next? Instead of what is it? The type of shipping, type of supply. Instead of warehousing stuff, you nick of time shipping type of thing.
Oh, right.
So they, as the money's coming in constantly, it's saving them. It's keeping them barely afloat. But there might be just one of those days. Like I don't think they could survive another. Oh, we got to throw another satellite in there.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to do it.
It's a huge star who's established and doing well.
Right.
In this medium, going to the new one.
That's why it's a big story.
Drink. There's lots of dead air, guys.
Wow.
But that's funny that I knew they'd have to regroup and figure out what to say. You have been a cash cow for that industry for 15 years.
Oh, God.
20 years. I mean, they started out for us in Washington.
Yep. Oh, the religious movement has made a fortune off me. Dan, the song parody man.
Good morning, everybody. I am so
the Poonhound calls in.
psyched about this satellite thing. I got the perfect way to stick it to these people. If the only leg they have left to stand on is that they thought you were going to be a premium service, not part of the basic, charge 1 penny, 1 extra penny. On the
Guess what, Dan? I won't do it.
Because they have no say. The government has no say. Nobody has any say over what you buy and decide to use.
Yeah, I love it.
I agree with that, but at the same time, as long as they have that leg to stand on, they can use that as their crusade and continue to raise money.
The landslide is already happening. It happened the day I announced it.
Unfortunately, the people who give them money will always give them money.
That's true.
They're easy targets.
I am such a huge fan of satellite radio. I've been a satellite radio subscriber for close to 2 years, and the only thing missing from it is your program.
Well, that's my point.
Thanks, Dan. Making sure your bread's buttered on the right side. This is the other thing. The religious right was one of those arguments he used to use all the time. It was just an awful, like, lame crutch. It was like they beat that horse way too much eventually. Religious, first of all, it was fringe. It really wasn't a big thing. It was like 5 people on the street corner yelling, we hate gluten or something like that. Nothing really happens, protesting the seal hunt or whatever fucking bullshit. Like it changes nothing. So right. He would use that and he'd try to beat, make it into content. And if he didn't exist, they'd go after something else. Like right. Sam Smith or that, Balenciaga scandal, or they'd go after, whoever it was, Kathy Griffin with the Trump head, like that picture. They'd find something to go after for certain. Gangster rap, anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's to listen to him go on about that was just a little too much.
This isn't about somebody going and paying just for me. They're getting a full service. The question is ludicrous. Would you pay for me? The question is, at what point will you begin using this product?
People are already paying and you're not there.
Right.
You know what people don't realize is that when I have my regular radio on, 20 times during the course of the day, I can go through the dial and not find a single thing that I want to hear. When I've got my satellite radio on, at any time of the day, there's 20 things that I'd like to hear, and the only dilemma is which one to listen to.
And guess what? They don't have to worry about ratings. They can just keep adding channels. You want to, that's the point.
I don't know about you, but I was able to finally put cassettes together, mix them, get all the songs I wanted, and then have curate my own playlists, I never had anything to do with radio ever again.
Oh, right. Exactly. That's you're right. I mean, once, and then, I guess like once with iPhones and iPods and things of that nature. Yeah. I mean, once you start, you can create your own playlist without having to listen to stuff. I mean, the only time, let's see, I had, I guess I had Spotify for a while. Like every now and then I would listen to Spotify or something just to kind of get a variation or a breakup into what I was listening to. But then, come to find out, a lot of the stations that I would make would play the music that I already had for free, and then I wouldn't have to listen to the stupid commercials.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, I think they're overestimating the power of this function when people were making their own mix cassettes on the Walkmans for ages. I had a Sony Sports Walkman that just would not die, and if I actually put batteries in it, probably will still play. And it had an FM receiver in it as well. It was great. If I wanted radio, and usually my wife would use that to listen to sports and stuff, but it was like I threw that thing, I dropped it, and it just wouldn't die. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the to this day, like the only time I will listen to live radio is for sports. Yeah, that's it. Like and local sports. Like if I'm listening to a Arizona State football or basketball game or the Suns or something like that. That's it. Yeah. I'm nothing else. I'm not, turning on some FM station to listen to, to the crap that they play. I'm like, no way.
I hear you.
So when the Daily News asks me, if they ask me on the street, would you pay to listen to Howard Stern?
Holy fuck.
That ain't the question. That's a dumb question.
So after 14 minutes, that's the first you heard of Artie. The first. 15 minutes. That's how bored he is with the conversation, too.
It's not
Here's Tom.
It's such a variety.
Here's Tom.
Hey, Dan, where do you make your living now?
Where do I make my living? Several places, but I'd like it to be on satellite radio.
Right, terrestrial's kind of paying your.
I'm not saying terrestrial radio is not going to make money. Tom,
so
don't
now
worry.
We know
terrestrial radio will make money.
It will, and
it's making $20 billion a year.
One of the reasons that people signed up for cable, and certainly cable has become a real big industry, was that it gave people. Not only did it give them alternative programming, it gave them a better signal. FM happens to be A really good signal, delivered in stereo.
Absolutely. It is the best, and it's free.
But I see it all as the same because cable started taking the regular channels.
Yeah, but one of the big reasons it
And
did
it gave
was
better
because it also
reception.
improved the quality of the signal.
That's what I'm saying. Gave better reception. Yes.
No. Listen,
that FM signal is
to me, FM isn't going away.
Right.
But I'm telling you, the landslide is beginning. It's going to happen
Plenty of room
anyway.
for both.
Here, the reason it never happened before this is they couldn't put them in the cars fast enough. Once it's in your car, that's it. Someone's going to be staring at that thing going, I got to use this monster.
It's true.
It's over. Tom, come with me. Don't sit. Have I always been right when it comes to radio? Maybe about not my personal life, but have I ever? I see it so clearly. I can taste it. It's the same as when I walked into Mel's office and I said, Mel, let me go on in Philadelphia and we can be number one.
Let me say this. This is one thing I could never understand about our careers. When I first started working with Howard, there were all these people who were supposedly our bosses who were saying, Howard, don't do this. Howard, don't do that. This is the way you're supposed to do this or that. And I was thinking to myself, don't they realize they should be listening to him?
Fucking parrot.
Oh, my God.
Like, how annoyed would you get when she would decide, like, we got a tag team together when she has to know he's all about himself, even at this point?
Right. Yeah, she's just along for the ride. I mean, I think she figured that out early.
So listen to him.
I've had the epiphany, Tom. Tom, I mean, I can't get to sleep.
Can't you hear more about
Come with me.
You're a real smart guy. There's no question.
Come with me.
Smart guy.
Don't stay here.
Where's my offer?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
There's plenty of room for everybody.
There's room for you there.
But there's nothing wrong with this business. It's a real good business. We got a lot of money.
It's a great business. I told Joe Hollander the other day, this is a great business. $20 billion business a year. There's no profit yet on satellite.
Who doesn't love radio more than us?
The last 17 minutes.
Tom, Tom, I'll tell you what. I'm so insignificant. I am so insignificant that I'll give you a clue.
You're not insignificant.
Viacom has already contacted a guy to take my place when I leave. I know the guy. I'm friendly with the guy, and he's already got an offer.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
I think I know who you're talking about.
It's the truth. And
Well, they have to make their move.
and the only reason I know about it is he immediately called me and said, "Please take me with you." So I mean, you know,
I don't want to go there.
right.
yeah. But the fact of the matter is, I said to him, "This is a great business. Stay with it. Maybe it'll be good for you. If you want to come with me, let's talk."
But you still have to consider this is a formidable business.
Absolutely, it's a great business.
I'm sure he's talking about Corolla.
Yeah.
But the whole come with me thing, that never happened. No.
No.
You know, there's always going to be people that want FM radio, that want the free radio, but most people want the choice. They want the variety. They want more options. I have, you know, whatever
Personally, the commercials are good for me. I would never go eat otherwise.
Right.
How can you take a break when you do this show?
I was going to say, how's that going to work?
Your work
There's
break.
going to be commercials, right?
Yeah, there'll be commercials.
Yeah.
Maybe like 4 an hour so I can go.
4 an hour. You're right. Like it's brutal. Like so, like Sirius. That was one of the promises as well. No commercials or very few commercials, and like as if you were going to go with no commercials.
Right, and then listening to him live. I mean, that was the frustrating part about it. I mean, there were times like on my commute when he was on terrestrial, where I'd hop in the car and they'd start commercials, and it'd be like 20 minutes of commercials, and I'd be at my office.
Yeah.
And
he was to blame for that. Like he can say whatever he wanted. Like, well, they insisted on crowbarring those commercials. No, but you decided when you were going to have a guest, you were going to push that forward. Instead of taking more regular commercial breaks, you decided, no, I feel like ranting for a little longer. We'll do the commercials when I want to, with the exception of a few plugs here and there that had to be on the hour or whatever it was, or weather report. I don't know. But he's to blame for that mostly.
Oh, yeah.
Pee or something. Take a leak. Yeah.
Now, what's the deal with that? Now,
I don't even know that there'll be commercials.
The basic channels don't have commercials.
What I've read said there was going to be.
Most of the channels don't have commercials.
I think on their talk formats they do.
See, so there's a place for you.
Tom, you're worried, aren't you?
No,
he's
not worried.
He doesn't care. He's leaving after I leave anyway, you told me. Right? Are you going to stay?
Are you sticking to that?
I'm not sure what I'm going to do. You know, I'm still a young man. I got a lot of energy left.
Oh, darn. You lied to us.
I didn't lie.
The only reason he's leaving is to see you leave.
Tom, listen, Tom.
I'm teasing.
Tom could leave anytime you want. You got enough dough to get out.
Well, he said, though, that he was leaving when you left.
I remember hearing that.
He said that because he figured.
As long as he keeps his promise about
One of the
not
reasons I
touching
chose to go to Satellite is because Tom said he wouldn't leave till I left. If he would have left, I would have stayed.
I threw that option out 100 times to get me fired.
No, I would never do that. I like you.
I like you, too.
I would work with you. This has put you in a bad position. This FCC.
It's been tough, yeah.
It's
Very
horrible.
tough.
I figured it out. He spends 60% of his day just on this show. He's really the general manager just for this show.
Yeah.
We're going to leave that one as it is, guys. We hope you've enjoyed it. When we get to the next few episodes, this is not going to be a 15 Foundation thing, but we're definitely, before we get to the final crying in Les's office like a bitch clip, which I love, and another chess move, another, fucking Bobby Fischer bullshit, recounting of him. We've got loads of clips involving what the problems he's had with the management at this time, and his discussion of it. Both in like media and stuff as well. So anyway, any shout outs, my friend, before we sign this one off?
No, not this time. But yeah, this was a good one. I can't wait. Yeah, the pinnacle of this is going to be the crying in Les's office. I can't wait for that one.
That's his march for the bagels. All right, take care, guys. We love you.
All right.
That's expression.
I care about the right to shove an eel up a girl's vagina.
Yeah, in China they can't videotape a woman getting shat on. Coyote fucking. That's what we have. Why did we fight the Revolutionary War? I think it's obvious, so a woman can fuck a moose. In the pages of Oslo. England under King George never had moose fucking.